Everyone is requested to turn on their camera. So that's why all people are seeing on the screen.
इनको आगे ले जाओ।
Good morning, everyone. Start with this.
I'm sorry, Gautam, to interrupt. I think somebody has used the annotating feature and there are some lines over the slide. Um,
Just 1 minute.
okay, cool.
Mm.
So, shall we begin?
Yes, ma'am. Uh, Good morning, everyone. On the behalf of Department and Public Policy, Law and Governance at the Central University of Rajasthan, we are welcome to this webinar. I am delighted to extend my warm welcome to our speakers, esteemed faculty members, research scholars, and students. It is also wonderful to see the participants not only from our department, but also from the university. I am Gautam Jha, a second year master's student and student of Public Policy, Law and Governance, and the president of Vimarsam. It is both my privilege and pleasure to host this edition of a PolicyVarta series. About Vimarsam, Vimarsam is a society, is a student initiative that strives to create space, thoughtful dialogue, and meaningful engagement on issue of public policy, governance, and legislative affairs. Our PolicyVarta series is a flagship platform of Immersion designed to bridge the academic learning to the real-world insight by bringing the students in conversation with the leading expert in practitioner. Here how the sessions will move forward. Yashika will introduce our speakers, and we will then move in the main discussion where we have the experience and the insight of the lawmaking in the land fellowship. After the discussion, we will have the interactive question and answer session with the audience, also moderated by the Ms. Nishita. To close the session, Devendra will deliver the vote of thanks and the share of few concluding remarks. Nishita, over to you.
So, hello everyone, myself Yashika. Today's discussion, Understanding Lawmaking and the Intricacies of Parliament and the LAMP Fellowship, is both timely and relevant. We will look at how laws are made in India and also learn about the LAMP Fellowship, which gives young people an opportunity to work closely with Parliament and policy
Jessica,
making.
your voice is not
It's my
clear.
privilege to welcome Miss Mitisha Sharma, Program Manager. Am I audible? Hello, audible? Okay. Miss Mitisha Sharma, Program Manager, LAM Fellowship, holds a physics degree from the University of Delhi and a postgraduate diploma in English journalism from IIMC. With prior experience in journalism at Newsera and Glance, she now leads a prestigious LAMP fellowship at PRS, enabling young professionals to work closely with members of parliament on legislative and policy issues. Ms. Yashika Kedia, Program Associate Outreach, holds a BCom Honours from Gargi College, DU. She has worked with KPMG Global Services and CPRG, bringing both analytical and research experiences. At PRS, she focuses on civic engagement and managing legislative research accessible to a wider audience. We are grateful to both of you for joining us today. With that, let us begin the session, and I invite Ms. Mitisha Sharma to share their insights. Ms. Mitisha, ma'am.
Hi everyone. Thank you for inviting Yashika and I for this series of policy workshops that you're doing. Thanks, Gautam, for inviting us. We're very excited. I think we have lots of things we want to cover around Parliament and lawmaking and, of course, Land Fellowship. So I'll let my colleague Yashika get the ball rolling and then we'll take over. Thanks, everyone.
Um, all right. Thank you, Mitisha. Thanks, Gautam. Thanks, Nitisha. It is a pleasure to be speaking to everybody here in the virtual room. I will begin by telling you briefly about PRS, what we do, and then briefly about our specific roles. So PRS was set up in 2005. PRS is a not-for-profit research organization, and we are the only organization in the entire country who provide research support to the legislators across the country. The research that we do is of a non-partisan nature, and apart from that, we also run a bunch of citizen engagement programs. For instance, LAMP Fellowship is one of those programs. We organize a lot of workshops for college students, for media professionals, fostering better conversations around legislatures and making legislatures accessible to citizens. So that's basically the premise around which the organization is set up. Coming to both of us, I think Nishta did a good job in introducing what we do, what backgrounds do we come with. If anybody has any questions about our particular job roles, then maybe we can take it up towards the end. Um, Moving forward, let's talk a little about the way we envisage this session. I plan to do my sessions in a very interactive manner, and Mitisha also is on the same page. We at PRS believe that sessions should be interactive. So during this session, we will invite a lot of responses from your end, a lot of answers in the chat sometimes, maybe. Um, Apart from that, what is the general consensus on the language? Should we keep this entirely in English, or would you be more comfortable if we switch from English, Hindi? What is the general consensus? Anybody?
Both men, or you-
Okay,
but
so
more
the
towards like
session,
English.
sorry, come again.
Then you can use more English. So That's why more people know about English and all. So like some people are connected from Hyderabad and that's it.
Okay. So we'll keep majority of the session in English. If somebody has any query and they want that to be answered in Hindi, we'll be happy to help with that. Apart from that, I have a request before we get into the technicalities, the nitty-gritties of the topic at hand today. Can people in the room please turn on their cameras and help us make the session interactive and fruitful? Thank you. Some more if people can volunteer. Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier that this session is going to be extremely interactive. We will ask you questions and we will tell you how we would want the response. Can people answer orally or can they answer via the chat? So let me start by asking everybody a question itself. Since today's session is about intricacies of legislatures and lawmaking, let me ask you, why do you think laws are important? Why do we need laws in the first place? People can raise hands and then answer. Um, Anybody? Why laws are important? Why we do the lawmaking exercise in itself? Anybody who has a
Well,
response, please raise a hand in the chat. Oh, sorry. Please raise your hand if that's a feature here in this. Can we raise hands in Zoom meeting? Okay, no worries. Anybody who has an answer can sort of turn on their mic and then talk.
then to govern the society like in a systematic manner, and for that we have to a set of rules and principles which guide us to govern the country or to govern the state. That's why we need the laws which are legitimate in the nature.
Correct. To govern the society, to govern the nation at large. Any other responses? To advocate fairness and justice. We are happy to receive responses even in chat. So somebody sent a chat to advocate fairness and justice. Correct. Any other responses? Basic, why do we need laws? Imagine a situation where laws are not existing at all. Would there be public order? Would there be four people driving on the same road in a comfortable and harmonious manner? More responses are coming over chat. Can we make sure the chats? Yes, I can see the chats now. Limit the powers of the government to maintain peace or peaceful coexistence. Correct. All answers are correct. So we need laws for maintaining public order so that there is a sense of community around the people of a nation, and moreover to enforce the rights that the constitution has granted to every citizen of the nation. So laws are important and we need laws. They are necessary in nature. Okay, moving on. If I may ask you, who passes laws? Who is the lawmaking body in India? Again, if somebody can unmute or give responses on the chat. Who is the lawmaking legislature? Okay. Any other response? Parliament. Okay. Legislature. Okay. So,
Parliament.
correct. Sorry?
Parliament.
Yes.
Legislature as making the law and executive will be passes to the assent of president.
Okay. Okay. So, some of you said parliament. Parliament comes under a broader pillar called legislature. Legislature comprises of parliament and state assemblies. So both of these institutions have the power to pass laws. to approve budgets, and to pass laws. Okay, now we are talking about the institution, we are talking about parliament and state assemblies. Now let's think of who are the people who comprise these institutions, who make up these institutions. These are your legislators, MPs, MLAs, correct? Can I see some nodding happening with the people who have their videos on? Are they with me so far? Correct. Okay. So when we look at parliamentarians or legislators, that is MPs, MLAs in simple language, they have four broader responsibilities. Number one is to pass budget. Number two is to pass laws. Number three is representing their constituents. And number four is holding the government accountable. These are four broad responsibilities that legislators come with. We will discuss these responsibilities in more detail going forward, right? Okay. Okay, I have more questions if people show some enthusiasm in the chat. Um, I have a question. We discussed something about laws. Let's think of some of the areas of your life which are regulated or not regulated by law. Everybody interact with street vendors on a day-to-day basis? Yes, no, yes. So do you think street vendors are regulated in nature? Yes, no in the chat, please. Street vendors, are they regulated? Are there any regulations around street vendors? Are they under some obligation to follow these rules and regulations? Guess yes, no, yes, kind of. Okay, sometimes yes, partially yes. Protect society. Okay. Okay, can I pick someone and ask them to unmute and explain why yes? Maybe Sarvesh, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Anybody who has written yes in the chat, can they volunteer and explain why you have written yes?
Can I?
Yes.
I feel there is a regulation. Just a few years ago, government announced a scheme for the welfare of street vendors. So government has a role to play. They have policies, but still, if we look at the ground reality, then street vendors are free to do whatever they want to do. They don't follow the rules. They don't follow the law. So that's why partially yes.
Okay. So there are policies around there are policies which offer welfare programs towards street vendors, but here we are talking about the laws. So any kind of act that might regulate street vendors. So there is an act. If you think of it, street vendors, you see them move freely around the roads, societies, localities. They can set up their cart anywhere around any corner in your locality. And I'm sure very few of you must have questioned those street vendors that, are they submitting any fees to the government? Have they obtained any kind of license from the government? Or basically, even are they required to do so? So the answer to that question is yes, street vendors are very much regulated. They are required to obtain a license from their state government, local municipalities, and they have to submit some kind of a monthly fees also to the municipalities in some cases. Now, does this get implemented on the ground or not is a different discussion. But are street vendors regulated? Yes. Why I brought up street vendors to our discussion in the first place? The idea was that something, the area of our life which we won't think that is regulated by law. Street vendors, we must have never thought that they are under the ambit of law, but they are. Similarly, there are a lot of parts of your life which are regulated. For example, when do you get to drive? When do you get to cast a vote? What is the minimum age to get married? Very personal parts, very personal parts of your life, something as personal as marriage is also regulated by law. What I'm trying to say is that laws affect citizens. Laws have consequences and ramifications over the lives of millions of citizens of a country, and hence, as students of policy, as future policy professionals, you should be able to study the consequences that laws come with, and you should also be able to question whether enough deliberation is happening over those laws or not. For that, I think it is important to understand how laws are made, how parliament functions. And when I say parliament, I mean state assemblies also, because they follow a similar model. So it is important to understand how these institutions function as a policymaker or as a policy professional. Okay. Any questions so far? Is everybody with me? Yes, no, anything?
Yashika, could you name the act related to street vendors that you were talking about?
I think the name of the act is Street Vendors Act only, something of that sort. I'm forgetting the actual name. It came around 2015, if I'm correct. I'll send you the name towards the end of the session. Okay. Any other questions? Is everybody so far with me? Taking that silence as a big yes. Okay. Now we'll move on to understanding how a day in Parliament is structured. The Parliament, when it is in session, it usually starts around 11 a.m. and usually runs till 6 p.m. This is basically a timeline that we are showcasing. These are basically different hours and hours through which parliamentarians can basically fulfill their roles and responsibilities. In the start, I discussed that parliamentarians have 4 different roles and responsibilities. So the way we have divided it here, if you see, before lunchtime, that is 11 to 1, there are 2 hours, namely the question hour and the 0 hour. And post lunch, we have divided it. There is something called legislative business, there is short duration discussion. And if you will see towards the right hand side, there is something called private member business. Now, if I dissect this timeline further for you, the first hour is the question hour, wherein a parliamentarian is wearing a people's hat. If I explain that further, what is a people's hat? Parliamentarians are chosen representatives, right? Elected representatives. Everybody vote for them and then they come to the house, right? So one of their role is to represent their constituents. The other role is to hold the government accountable. During fulfilling these 2 roles and responsibility, parliamentarians wear a people's hat. So the first hour is question hour, in which, by the name, it is quite explanatory that question hour is the time when MPs get to ask questions to the ministers. So any MP who is not a minister gets to ask questions to the ministers. If you think about it, this is the time when they can ask for various schemes implementation status. This is the time they can ask for data from the government. The next hour is the 0 hour. 0 hour 0 hour is the time when MPs represent their constituents. This is the time when various kinds of issues of larger public importance are brought out in the House, and MPs make a statement around those issues. So if you look at it, the topics or the subjects that are brought up in the 0 hour could be constituency related, which are like very local, could be state issues, or could be issues which are relevant nationally. So if you think about it, local constituency issues could be anything like a disaster, a flood is coming in a particular, somebody trying to annotate on the screen. Gautam, can I can I request you if we can turn off the annotating settings for everybody? Okay, sorry for that interruption. Yes, so we were talking about 0 hour and how variety of subjects can be raised during this hour. Some of the issues can be local constituency issues. Now, you must be aware, you all must be reading in the newspaper that there are floods in Punjab, there are landslides and floods in parts of Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. So these are constituency related local issues. Some MP can raise them during this hour. The other kind of issues that can be raised during 0 hour could be state related issues. If there are people from Kerala in the meeting, then they would know that human wildlife conflict is a big issue in Kerala. If you read about Kerala regularly, you would know that human wildlife conflict is a big issue in Kerala. So state issues, some state might be facing a fund crunch at large. So that could be raised. The other part of the issues could be national issues. So something like cybercrime, financial frauds that are relevant for the entire country. Now, if you're reading the newspaper, a lot of foreign policy developments have been reported. So things around that. What is our relationship with China? How is our relationship with US pairing? Things around artificial intelligence, things around mining. So anything, if you look at the spectrum of things that can be raised in 0 hour, it's a wide spectrum. Okay. Now, why you should look at it from a policy lens, policy professionals lens. It is an avenue for you to learn about various issues which are relevant topically. So you can read about those, you can learn about those, you can maybe research further about those and come up with policy suggestions and do your policy or do your evidence-based research around it. Then the next hour is lunch hour. After lunch, MPs wear a political party hat. That is, when they are speaking in the parliament, they are a representative of their political party. So this is the time when bills are introduced, bills are discussed. Bills are basically a draft form of laws, and when they are passed by the legislature, they become acts. And when they are implemented, they affect and influence the lives of each one of us. So the next post lunch is the legislative business time. There is another intervention called a short duration discussion. During short duration discussion, a longer form of discussion around, again, something of national importance, topical importance happens. This is different from zero hour in the sense that a lot of time is allocated. If ministers are, oh sorry, if parliamentarians are making short statements during zero hour, during a short duration discussion, many of the parliamentarians together, make their view, express their viewpoints around a similar topic. In the past, short duration discussions have happened around women empowerment, price rise in India. Recently, if you would remember, some of the discussions around the Pahalgam attack happened. In the last winter session, we completed 75 years of our constitution. So, around that, a discussion happened. So, this is a time where a longish discussion would happen. And this is a time where you can gain different perspectives around a policy topic. Okay. Then there is something called a private member's business. Private member's business is the time when, okay, before that, I have a question to ask. Who introduces bills? Who introduces bills during the legislative business time?
Concerned ministries.
Yes, concerned ministers. Correct. Anybody has answered in the chat? Any MP? No. No MP. Financial or general ministers. Okay. So the correct answer to that would be that the concerned minister would introduce the bill. If the bill is being brought up by the Home Ministry, then the concerned minister would introduce. Finance Ministry, then the Finance Minister would introduce. The question was asked in a general sense. Correct, only for public bills. There is another avenue where MPs who are not ministers, they can introduce a bill which is called a private member bill. I am talking about that. Manojit Sa, I'm introducing them to private member bills now. So any member who is not a minister can introduce something called a private member bill. Now, if you look at the historical performance of the private member bills, not many of them have, completed that journey of becoming a law. But they are of important nature because these bills sometimes provide the framework for a lot of bills to get introduced and passed. What I mean by that statement is that sometimes a private member bill would come. For instance, in 2015, a private member bill around the welfare of transgender persons was introduced by a current member of Rajya Sabha. Now, this bill was passed in Rajya Sabha, but it didn't got passed in both the houses. Later, what happened that the concerned ministry introduced a bill around the welfare of transgender people, and that bill was passed, and that bill is part of our statute book. So, what I'm trying to say is that sometimes private member bills provide the framework or the genesis for the government to introduce something which is a gap in the laws. Transgender is one example. Other example, if I talk about it, is that during late 1960s or 70s, there was a a private member bill that Mr. Atul Bihari Vajpayee introduced around corporate political funding. That how corporates, how the political funding coming from the corporates should be limited. Now, that private member bill served as the framework for the government to make changes in the Companies Act. And that act, that amendment limited the funding that corporates can provide to political parties. So, private member bills basically have served as an important instrument to highlight some of the gaps in laws and perhaps provide a framework towards upcoming laws and legislations. Okay, so that's basically a rough summary of a day in Lok Sabha looks like. When it comes to Rajya Sabha, the first 2 hours get interchanged. So the first hour is the 0 hour and the second hour is the question hour. Okay, let's discuss some one or two examples around question hour. I said that question hour is the time when MPs can ask questions to ministers. There are different kinds of questions that can be asked. One is a starred question, the other is an unstarred question. Then there is a short notice question. So if we look at the rule book, then starred and unstarred questions require an advance notice of 15 days. However, there can be instances wherein the question filing requires urgency. So in that case, something like a short notice question is exercised, wherein the 15-day rule is relaxed. Okay, so let's discuss the difference between starred and unstarred questions. Starred questions are basically questions which receive an oral reply. So the concerned minister would stand and reply in person, while the unstarred questions are the ones which receive a written response. If I try to explain you the gravity of the difference, just think of your life. What is more difficult? Is writing an exam difficult or giving an interview difficult? What is the general consensus? Is writing an exam difficult or giving an interview? If people can answer in the chat. Interview, okay. I'm sure everybody feels the same. Giving an interview is difficult because you can be cross-questioned. Similarly, for starred question, there are supplementary questions that can be asked, and hence limited starred questions can be filed by an MP, and limited starred questions are taken up in a day. That's the difference between the kind of questions that we have. Okay, so one example for you to understand that questionnaire generates a lot of data and information and how that can be useful to you guys. So this is some data. If people can scan this data and give some observations in the chat. Any outliers in the data? What is the general thing? This data came out of a response to a question asked by one of the members of parliament. Any responses? I can see 3 zeros. If somebody else can also see that. Bigger population, more share. Okay, 1. Any other responses? In what context? There is no context. Some context is on the screen itself, that there's a central share allocated, there is a central share released. So there are some numbers at hand, some states. Just try to make sense of it without the context. I will introduce the context. Is it all about money? I would say yes, it is all about money. Non-ruling parties have less share released. UP and Bihar having highest central share allocated. Okay. Okay, so thank you for your responses. My general sense of the kind of responses that we have received is difference. Okay. Yes. So my general sense of the kind of responses that we have received is, 1, the framework around which the share has been divided. 1. Number 2 is that some people have said that there is some politics behind that share allocation. Then somebody has said bigger yes. So generally, 2 things that have come up, that how the share has been allocated, and number 2 is that is there any politics around it. Correct. So my idea just was to introduce that there are a couple of zeros, but you have raised important questions. So one can question that, yes, more populous states have got more share. Is there any politics around it? No. So the allocation of share is decided by a formula that the Finance Commission comes up with. So Finance Commission is a constitutional body. It is autonomous in that sense. So clearly not influenced by politics. One of the criteria in that formula is population. So one can say that, states with more population have been receiving more share. Okay. So the context in which I was introducing this data was this, that one of the members of parliament asked this question. And the question was around the Samagra Shiksha scheme, that what is the annual budget and how much has been allocated. Now, if we look at the intricacies of Samagra Shiksha scheme, it is a centrally sponsored scheme. Centrally sponsored scheme means that the state and the center share the funds. So some funds come from the center and some funds come from the state. Now, let's go back to the data. So if you read the heading, it says central share allocated and central share released. Now there are some conditions around releasing of share, and the states have to fulfill those conditions. 3 states, the data reveals that 3 states have been allocated funds but have not received funds. This is a cue for prospective policy professionals like you to investigate the reasons of it further. Why has there been no share released? Are the states not fulfilling those conditions? Are the conditions really stringent for the state to fulfill? So those are some questions that should come up in your mind when you see such data. Okay, So far we discussed the televised part of parliament. All of the things that we discussed are televised in the proceedings of parliament are televised. You can find them on Sunset TV YouTube channel as well as on the TV channel thing. So so there is a non-televised part of parliament, which is parliamentary committees. The non-televised of that non-televised part of parliament comes with an advantage that it is a space for much more detailed scrutiny around legislations. It is a space for bringing sort of a political consensus, because the pressure of being politically correct and the pressure of being right in the public's eye is not there, because these are confidential. The sittings that happen of committees are confidential in nature. So parliamentary committees are called mini legislatures in that sense. There are different types of parliamentary committees. Some of the parliamentary committees are temporary in nature. Some of the parliamentary committees are uh, permanent in nature. Parliamentary committees play an important role, and you should track it from a policy professional's lens, because these committees, one of the kind of committee is a subject committee. Now, these subject committees have detailed and different sorts of functions. They examine legislations, one, and they study on policy subjects. So, if you are trying to understand some of the policy subjects, not just the report that is being released by this committee might be of great help and information in understanding that particular topic, but those reports might also give you an eye into some sort of evidence which is present on the ground, but you might not come across it on various government websites. For instance, there is a subject committee on uh, rural development and Panchayati Raj. So this subject committee decided to study the implementation of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Is everybody aware of what is Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana? Housing for All scheme. The scheme has been in news for a while. It is getting uh, every year it is getting more and more funds from the government. So the committee studied the scheme, and it found that it gave several recommendations around the procedure, that there might be some sort of reconsideration and some sort of improvement required on the beneficiary selection part. The committee recommended several things around the procedural or administrative part. That there was one thing, there is one part of the scheme that requires the beneficiaries to upload a picture of the house that they have constructed on an app. That app is, I think, Avas Soft. So, or something else is the name, I'm forgetting. So the committee report highlighted that how there are states wherein similar picture has been uploaded by various beneficiaries. Do you think you will get this information from any news report? These committees go these committees conduct field surveys. These committees interact with different stakeholders, which is a full policy which is a full policy survey, and collecting data, going on ground, collecting evidence, part of work that you guys as policy professionals would have to do, but the committee has done for you. So committee reports are a rich source of information and a guide for you towards your research, uh, research subjects or research methodologies that you might take up. Okay, so I will stop here. Mitisha will take up some of the lawmaking part and the LAM fellowship part.
Great. Thanks, Yashika. This really set the floor for me to take over. Um, okay, great. So we've looked a lot at the intricacies of Parliament bit, and I think Gautam was mentioning there are people from other departments also. So I hope this was helpful for you guys to understand how Parliament works. Now we'll look at a little bit more detail about what is the lawmaking procedure and how do you, as policy students or in general any other background, should be looking at laws. Parliament deals with everything, right? Our legislators deal with everything. Yashika gave an example of street vendors. There are labor laws. There are laws for how your education will be governed. There are policies in place which legislatures set. So everyone is in some or the other way interacting with the lawmaking bodies on a regular basis, and it's good when we see a piece of legislation, we should be able to analyze it from that lens. So I'll start with some of the basics about what is the procedure and then dive a little bit deeper into how you would want to look at it or analyze it, for instance. So before, let's say, a law makes it to a legislature, right? State assembly or parliament in general, there is a lot of consultations that happen. We see it one day, just a particular bill is going to be introduced and passed, but that is not its origin journey. It starts way back with a need, right? A legislature or a nation finding a need for something to be regulated, governed, or trying to be addressed. So that's where the thought begins. Then there are industry bodies which are consulted. A lot of the times you will see draft legislations being open to public for comments. So broadcasting bill or digital personal data protection. So there were a bunch of legislations which were made open to public, and NGOs or civil society organizations, even you as students, can send your feedback to government and the ministry which is piloting that bill as to what are your thoughts about it, what you wanted to address, change, edit, your suggestions basically. So that bit is also taken into consideration, where there is a large group of industries or stakeholders getting impacted. Government circulates a draft legislation, and once that is done, cabinet approves that, and you see it being introduced on the floor of the house in parliament or in state assemblies. So yeah, after the approval. So there is again a very, as Yashika has explained, in parliament or in any assembly, there are a lot of rules which govern the day-to-day functioning. So for instance, there's question hour, there's 0 hour, there are fixated times for that because it's parliament's time is important every day. There are certain rules that regulate every intervention. Similarly, for the lawmaking, for the lawmaking process, there is a guideline on how a law will be discussed and passed in parliament. So again, similar thing applies at state levels as well. So you would have the minister which is piloting the bill, and again this can apply to private member bill also. The procedure remains the same, just the person who is piloting will be different here. So the minister pilots the bill, introduces the bill, and there is a short speech that the minister will make explaining what the bill is about. Then there is a general discussion that happens. I will not go into the detail, too many technicalities of opposing a bill and this and that, but so there is a whole discussion around the aspects of the bill. You will see a lot of members of parliament and MLAs talking about different provisions. What do they think about those? What is the impact on their constituents or the nation or the citizens in general? Express their agreement, disagreement, and then there is voting. Right, so there's discussion and then there's voting, and then the house agrees to pass a bill or amend a bill. And once it is passed in parliament, it goes to the other house. Wherever there is a bicameral state legislature, it goes to the other house. And then whatever rules are there, so I'll come to the details about what is the rule. So in every legislation there are certain terms that you will see where the power has been given to the state assembly or the parliament to later put down the manner in which the sort of aspects of the bill will be coming into force. So for instance, if today I say that every one of you will have to register through an automated system to enter the premises of the building, right? How I will be putting that registration process, right? What every detail of what you will have to do to enter your college building will be given through these rules. And we'll come a little bit later to it, what is given, what should be given in the rules, what should be specified in the bill. So this is generally how like the legislative, the lawmaking process is, and what happens on the floor of the house. And if any of you have followed the procedures in parliament or in any state assembly, I think Rajasthan assembly is meeting today for its monsoon session. So I recommend you to go back, see the proceedings of the day, go to the website and see how what all discussions have happened. An important bill is being listed, coaching center regulation bill. So you guys can go and look at the bill after this. Hopefully it will help you look at it from that lens. So coming to the next slide. Yashika, can you move to the next slide? Great. Okay. So there are certain aspects. I want to just get a sense of the room. How many of you have ever taken a look at a bill, a copy of a bill? Not read about it, not read its analysis. How many of you have taken a look at a bill? If anyone has, just tell me. Or you've looked at it, got so intimidated, you closed it. It's like I said, I'll ask ChatGPT to analyze it for me. It'll make it easier. Has anyone looked at it? I'm not seeing any responses. I assume no one has. So that's great. I hope you take this session and you're able to go and look at the coaching center bill and get some better idea. It's not intimidating for you anymore. So if it is a 4-page bill, it's easy. But there are bills which are 500 pages long. How do you start, right? When you get a piece of legislation, the first thing that you should be doing is going to the last page, end of the page, and seeing a title called Statement of Objects and Reasons. So there are other things as definition clauses, delegated legislation, and penalties, and we will go one by one. So when we go to the next slide, you'll get a sample of objects and reasons. So can we go to the next slide? Great. So you will, towards the end of the bill, see exactly this thing written, which is called Statement of Objects and Reasons, which the whole purpose of this particular paragraph or a series of paragraphs is to tell you why a bill is being brought in the first place. Why do we need this particular complex clause by clause detail of if you do something you will be held criminally liable, or you cannot do this, or you can do this, otherwise this, that. So the whole reason why a bill is being brought is given in the Statement of Objects and Reasons. So this is the first thing that you want to do, is come here and take a look at it. So take 1 minute to see what this particular statement of SOR is how we call it, telling you, right? So it's basically that gig work economy is currently unregulated, right? There is a need for it. It's growing. It is employing a lot of citizens in our country, and there's no effective mechanism for dispute resolution or welfare benefits. So the state thinks that they must be protected. They should be given social security benefits. They should have certain rights as being part of the gig economy. So fair enough. Again, you see a need, a lack of regulation, and you want to introduce a bill. This is what it tells you. Now, how do you analyze it, right? I think I'll take the most simple example, which everyone would have, because you're policy students, so I assume, and others also. Is everyone aware of that One Nation, One Election bill? Everyone, mostly I am expecting everyone to be aware of it. Very popular. Every one of you will go and vote at one place, elect your MLA, elect your MP. Its Statement of Objects and Reasons, I recommend you go and read. It is very long, 3-page long, and it tells you that elections in our country are very expensive, right? Rajasthan went to vote in 2023. couple of months before the general elections. Then again, there is a model code of conduct, which means that every new policy development will be stopped. There is a break in policy making process. There is a lot of money which is being spent by the state exchequer. There are, government employees which are again pulled into the duty for election. So there is a lot of administrative problems in conducting elections for states separately and parliament separately. Let's merge all of them. Money is a problem which we're saying, right? Now, when you look at that, it gives you that picture and you are okay with that. Fair enough. We have experienced problems and merging will help. But as a policy student, you need to think about it. What is the problem? And is a bill the right mechanism for it, right? Yashika also went to it, right? A little about it, like policy versus a bill. Why do we need something? What does a bill do? So one of the things that can anyone tell me, your policy students, what is the difference between a policy and a bill, a law? What makes two things very separate? Why do I need to pass a bill to achieve my purpose? Let's say gig economy. Let's not even go to a complex constitutional bill like that. Tell me, why do I need to have a bill on gig economy? Why can't I just have a policy? Take a crack at it. In policy, it's all about questioning things. If you don't question, then how will you arrive at the right answer? So wrong answers are welcome as well. I want you to think about it. Let's say I am the state. I don't pass a bill. I let all of the gig sort of organizations who operate in the gig economy, Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, to let them know that from today onwards, you have to take care of your employees. You should, give them benefits. You should, not fire them like that. You should tell them on what grounds their pay is being cut. I don't pass a bill. What happens if they violate? There are 43 people in the room. Someone take a crack at it. Tell me, what if I tell you, and what if I tell this to? Okay, policy is the government's broad plan, and act is enforceable in court, unlike policy. Exactly, right? Policy shows intent, bill creates a law. Uh, uh, Fair enough, Devendra, but a law can also show intent. Is this not telling you my intent that there is a lack of regulation? Right? But Bhairavi is right here that something is enforceable, something is justiciable. I can take, or anybody can take Swiggy to court if they violate the principles I have laid down in a law. But that can't happen for a policy. That is more a directive that someone should be doing, or following a certain guideline. But a law makes it enforceable or justiciable in court. If you violate it, you end up with the courts, and there could be an action depending on what my bill provides for, that can be taken against you. So that's largely the thing, right? So when we're looking at something like one nation, one election, if the problem is money, is there an alternative to it? Right? Is there an alternative, another way through which the same can be achieved? Can we not reform the election mechanism right as it is? If money is a problem, can we not make sure that the gap between day one of election versus the last day of elections is not 45 days, right? So there are things that you need to question when you look at a statement of object and reason, to number one, know what a bill is being brought for, and then number two, why, right? Third being, is there another way to do it? Can I not achieve the same objective through other way? If not, then we come here, right? For something like that, maybe we need reforms in our electoral process, then changing the entire way in which everybody votes. So now coming, this is the statement of object and reasons. Any question here, anything you think you don't agree with, or you think we should be looking at it from some other lens. This is not mathematics. There are different ways in which we can approach something. Great. I take that as I am a great speaker and you all agree with me. Amazing. Great. Moving to next, which is our definition. So before we look at these examples, it is very important. So you have statement of object and reason towards the end of the document. The definition comes in at the start. So it is the second clause, the second thing after the title of the bill, which is present in a piece of bill. Incredibly important thing, because it can change the way a bill can be looked at. Now I'll give you two references here to illustrate the particular example. The first one that you see is a definition from the Digital Personal Data Protection Act of 2023. It says, she in relation to an individual includes the reference to such individual irrespective of gender. So what the framers of this law, which is who will be looking at the Data Protection Act? So, okay, I will let you guys figure that one out. The ministry piloted this particular data protection DPDP, and they tried to become a little progressive, which means that instead of saying he everywhere or he/she everywhere, they decided to use just she. Now, if this definition were to not exist, how will you interpret it? How will a lawyer interpret it? They will see she, they will look at only this gender, right? So even though the ministry is trying to achieve a very or see it from a very progressive lens, that we will write it only as she, the pronouns that we will be using, but if you don't explain explicitly how you want the lawyers or the courts to interpret it, it could be taken in a completely different context, and then only the women will have their data protected. Unfortunately for all the men, your personal data can be leaked. So even for small things like that, it is very important that whatever terms you're using in your particular legislation or bill, they're very explicitly explained. So from when you also analyze a bill, you're coming across terms, right? You're coming across certain things. You need to go back and see whether they're properly explained, because they could have very different interpretation and cause chaos when it is being litigated at the court level. So here, a simple example, she, they have explained that it is irrespective of whatever gender, it applies to everybody. Then I have a second definition. We looked at gig work law. Now, you have the draft Telangana Gig and Platform Workers Bill. And here a gig work is being defined as, a gig worker is any person who participates in a work arrangement, earns from such activities. Then a new definition is needed when provision only apply. This is no. You don't need a new definition. Here is a gender. It is being assumed that this is gender neutral, right? She, they're just using a pronoun, but it is irrespective of gender. Any individual, irrespective of gender, so it applies to everybody. So they're clarifying here that everybody's personal data is going to be protected under the clauses that are given. Now coming to the gig work one. You have a work arrangements, someone, you can take a look at it, earns from activities outside of traditional worker employer-employee relationship and who works on contract. So 2-3 things that are coming across here. You work outside of traditional employer-employee relationship. You work on contract basis. Okay, you are given a specific rate of payment for 1 hour, for 3 hour, or for a particular action that you perform, and it's contractual. So it's a piece rate work. So there are 3 things that you can interpret from here. But now think about it. Will this not cover, let's say I'm a graphic designer and I'm offering my services. I'm using a platform or whatever, an arrangement. I'm trying to get access, trying to get work through that particular arrangement. I have again a contract with everyone. I will get like a piece rate work, right? I am again outside of a traditional employer-employee relationship, but I'm a graphic designer. I'll be earning a lot of money. And am I the audience that the gig work is trying to protect? Not really. Technically, not. They have existed before this gig economy came. I could also be, let's say, a doctor who is getting job through a medical aggregator. Am I the gig worker that the state is trying to protect? Am I the one whose social security benefits are being given for? Not really. I am not the target audience. So what you define and how clearly you define something sets the goal of who will be governed under that law. And it could be interpreted differently, and then it could have policy consequences, right? Everything that you introduce, every policy, every law, since it is justiciable in nature, landing up in courts, it could have unintended consequences, which means I don't really need to be involved in that, but somehow I am being, as a graphic designer or as a doctor, I'm being pulled into it, whereas it is for a different set of gig workers. So that is a challenge here with definition, and you need to look at it very closely. The third thing, so how long do we have? Do we have till 1? Gautam? 1. We have till 1. Great. So I'll quickly try to cover this. Then going to the next thing, which is the clauses, which is pretty straightforward, nothing to be elaborated here. Can we move to the next one, Yashika? Great. So a simple thing, right after your definitions, start your clauses, which detail all of the things that a bill is trying to do. So here I've taken from a very recently passed prohibition of online gaming and the gambling thing that the parliament has recently legislated on. And it will tell you everything that the bill is trying to do, whether it is creating a new body, whether it is prohibiting something, whether it is promoting something, whether it is trying to constitute a new framework altogether for any sector to be regulated. So your clauses will be detailed as soon as your definition ends. All of your clauses are the body of a bill, which tell you how a particular intent of a law is going to be met. So that's your clauses. The next is the delegated legislation bit, which is very interesting. And I'd want to have like a discussion here with everyone and take, because it's more of a guesswork. So can we go to the delegated legislation clauses here? Okay, perfect. Just read the section or clause 3 of that. Again, going to stick to the gig work example. Establishment of gig and platform workers welfare board. State government shall with effect constitute a board to exercise the powers conferred on. Next, the board, as and when necessary, notify general or sector specific social security and other benefits. Now, you will see this thing, this particular term, at the board or the government or whatever body, as and when necessary, will notify this what is it trying to achieve. So here what this is the social security and benefits, right? It could be anything else that the bill could ask the body or the state or the government or whoever is the authority there to frame rules on later. So this is the rules that we had initially looked at, the rules which come after a bill is passed. Now, tell me something. What is the gig work bill trying to do here? It is trying to, number one, provide them with certain rights. Number two, the rights being, let's say, as an employee at my organization, I have some rights. I can't be asked to not come tomorrow. I will have health benefits. I will have some social security benefits and things like that. I will have some, let's say, maternity benefits and things like that. So that is what the particular bill is trying to provide, right? Social security and other benefits. Now, when you are a particular employee and you join the organization and you get a letter that you're joining from tomorrow, we have a 3-person authority. It decides what benefits you get, and you can join an organization and start. What are your expectations? What is the problem here for you? What do you need to know before you sign the agreement? Anybody wants to take a crack at it? Or tell me if you want me to repeat the same point. Think about it. Think again that you are joining, let's say you're joining your own college. Who appoints these 3 people? Let's say it tells you the organization has appointed the head of the organization and 2 people working under them. Okay. But what are exactly those benefits? When you sort of introduce a larger policy, or let's say a law, you want certain things to be very clear, right? You want certain things to be clear, which is, if you're talking about giving social security benefits, number one, why should this not be here in the bill itself, right? Is it not there are other mechanisms, or there are other bills which give a broad idea as to what kind of benefits exist? Why will a bill, or why will an authority later decide through rules that a particular benefit will be given or not? So it's very important when you look at this delegated legislation as to, as and when necessary, something will be notified. uh, what is it trying to later give the authority the powers for, right? If it is something which, let's say, is very core to the bill, if it is social security, then this is very core to the bill. So there is a need for more clarity of what type of social security should be given, and it should not be left to the authority to decide later. Now I have a question. Let's say the bill does that. Should it also tell you, fair enough, what if those benefits are not enough? What if you need more benefits? Bills can always be amended, right? Or when you say the board shall provide social security benefits like health, maternity, paternity benefits, dental benefits, and what all, and and will add as and when necessary. So you give it, the way you frame certain delegated legislation also has sort of this angle of how something is interpreted. If you specify the basic social security benefits that are being covered and give the authority power to add to it, then one, this can be achieved through that manner, that the board can then later on, as and when times change, there are need for other type of benefits, then those can be added, or you amend the bill, right? But again, here is a question: how much do you want a bill to specify, and how much you want to leave it for later to be changed? Now let me take an example here only. I have said that there are benefits like health, maternity, other safety and security benefits for a gig worker, and the way this benefit will be given. So I tell you that I am writing here in this legislation that every gig worker will have to sign a document detailing father, mother name, beneficiary name, and other very intricate details that will ensure that these benefits are provided. Is this good or bad? I write it very clearly here that you will need to get you'll need to get a printout of a copy, and I attach the copy here. I tell you, you take a printout of the copy, give all of the details, get it signed by a specific authority, and then come to us, and only then you will get the benefits. So I given very long and very complex sort of mechanism in which these benefits will be given. Do you think it should be included here, or do you think this is the kind of thing that the authority should later decide? Do we want our lawmaker to spend time talking about the core ethics and principles of a bill, or administrative functions of a bill? Later. Anyone else? Why do you think later? So later is correct, right? Think about it. You are a lawmaker. I give you a bill, which is, the core principles of the bill are 18 pages long, and the procedural aspect of it, let's say if I want to provide social security benefits, how that will be provided is again another 10, 20 pages long. Okay, Rajendra, great. Now I ask this question to you. You are the lawmaker. You are part of the Rajasthan Legislative Assembly, right? You now have this, I give you a bill which is 56 pages long, 18 of which talk about all of these things. Who is the authority? Who all are members of it? What all benefits it will provide? What all rights does a gig worker have? And then 20, 30 pages of procedural things on how this will on what type of form, what type of font, what type of online or an offline way in which the gig worker will have to fill the form. Do you think it is the right use of a legislator's time? Think about it. So this is not one way, right way like approach. You'll need to use your analysis at this stage, that whenever you see something like as and when necessary. Exactly. Most of these things are decided by the implementing agency, because that is what you're seeing here. But what if I write it in a different manner, right? What if I write it in a different manner? What if I specify all of these things and put it up in front of a legislator to discuss and pass? That means that once you have passed something, it is very difficult to then change that. That is part of a bill. So when we want to give our implementing agency certain this thing, freedom to improvise. Let's say it was early 2000s and internet was not very prominent. Then the mechanism in which a gig worker will be able to enroll to receive rights will be largely through paper, right, in person. But now that it is happening, the methods have changed, the application process has changed, we're largely digitized. So you want to give the implementing agency certain level of freedom in deciding the administrative bit of it, because that could change year on year. But the core principles of a bill should always be explained in the bill itself. If I'm talking about social security benefits, the bill should tell what social security benefits I'm getting, right? If there is a fee which is being charged from a user, and let's say Swiggy or Zomato, to fund this social security, the bill should specify how the fund will be used, right? But the procedure in which the fund will be used, right, or the procedure in which a gig worker will be enrolled and then given those benefits can be changed from year on year. So that level of freedom you want the body to have, which is why you need to very carefully always look how much power is delegated and how much power should be clearly specified here. So I want to stress a little bit here, because this is a very important aspect, and as people who deal with policy, you should know where there is excessive power given to the center or the state or the body, and how much clarity and information is available in the bill. Jayalalitha is saying her own name. Great. Okay, now moving to the next one, which is largely simple. I want to just tell you guys about. Can we go to the next slide, Yashika? It is okay, here. Penalties. So what other additional things, barring these three major things, which is your statement of objects and reasons, your definition, your clauses, your delegated legislation. Other things could be, let's say, if you're breaking a law, if you're framing down certain things which a person can or cannot do, then there will be consequences. So the penalty section is usually the consequences bit of it. What if you break a law, right? What are the consequences of that? That's what the penalty section tells you. It could also be, let's say, creating a body, and there could be salary component for that body. If, let's say, I create a gig worker board that I was talking about, then someone will have to pay the salary for that. Of course, the state will pay the salary for that. Then the bill also specifies how much money will be spent on the functioning of the board, and that is called financial memorandum, which is also always mentioned in the bill. If I'm creating a new body and I'm paying money from the fund of the state or consolidated fund of India, then how much money will be spent? That's also there. But coming to the penalty aspect of it, look at the three example. I first want you to take a look at the two lines that I've given here. So if you're selling a minor child for prostitution, BNS, I assume everyone is aware of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, right? we had a whole change in the criminal aspect. Entire thing was reformed. So if you're selling a minor child, your imprisonment could be up to 10 years. But if you're buying a minor child for prostitution, your imprisonment is up to 14 years. So when you look at the penalty section, you need to see whether they are contradicting each other or not, right? Whether there is one penalty which is contradicting the other or not. There has to be a sort of logic in the way we put these provisions in place. Does it make sense? You selling a child for prostitution up to 10 years, but if you're buying, it's up to 14 years. And this is the same bill that is talking about this, section 98 and then section 99. So these type of things you want to keep in mind. Then food adulteration, there could be things, let's say two bills addressing the same thing, right? Two laws are addressing the same thing. So in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, if you adulterate food, you get imprisonment up to 6 months or a fine of 5,000 rupees or both. But in the Food Safety and Standards Act, it is imprisonment of 6 months to life imprisonment and a fine of 10 lakh rupees. Do you see the difference in scale in which a person could be penalized under two different laws which are in place at the particular moment? So when you're looking at the penalties section, you need to look at whether they themselves don't contradict each other, whether they don't contradict another existing law in place, right? Or I'm going to talk about the senseless sort of penalty for certain laws, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act. Some laws are so outdated, right, which haven't been reformed to keep in place with the existing norms. So if you cause hurt or if you're cruel to an animal, your fine is 10 rupees to 50 rupees. Now, when it came, 1960, of course, big amount. But is it the same today? Like, I'm sure you guys are spending, you know, 5 times the amount in when you're going out somewhere. So it is not really proportionate. If you commit a second offense within 3 years, then you are imprisoned up to 3 months or a fine of 25 to 100 rupees. So the penalty is again not proportional here. So again, three things when you're looking at penalty section, whether they're contradicting each other, whether they are contradicting the penalty aspect of an existing law, which is trying to regulate the same thing. And the third, whether they are proportionate from our existing standards. So it's very important whenever you look at the penalty section, it's very difficult to impose a penalty. If I ask you today, uh, and I tell you under the Motor Vehicles Act, if you hit someone, what is the appropriate fine for you? Two people will have two different responses. So it is always very difficult to come up with a penalty for a particular law, but you have to think of it from an aspect of what is existing in the current space, what is an international norm, how have people responded to certain things. Let's say if I say if you hit me, the fine is 10,000 rupees, and there have been instances that people have resorted to corruption, people have resorted to giving money down the table. So there are a lot of inferences that exist, and when you look at it, you need to look at it from that aspect. Okay, I think this is it from the lawmaking side. What is the next slide? Right. So points to consider while analyzing a bill. So whenever you're looking at all of these bills, these are the 4 or 5 things you want to look at it. And broadly, when you're trying to analyze, you need to look at, do the provisions of the bill achieve the stated policy objective? So when we looked at it, when we looked at the gig workers ka statement of objects and reasons, it said that you need to provide them benefits. We need to provide a dispute resolution mechanism. You need to provide certain rights to gig workers. So you know the objective. Do all of the clauses provide for that? You need to look at it from that perspective. If you want to provide social security benefits, we saw that we don't know the social security benefits that it will give. So that is an objective not really achieved. It could also be that, okay, so I'll give that example in the second point. Are there any alternatives that can be taken? I will give you an example of the Prohibition Act, right? There are a lot of states in our country which have prohibited consumption of alcohol. What has been the unintended consequence of that? Right? You tell me. If I say nobody can consume alcohol in the state of Rajasthan, what will be the consequence? This is a very easy thing. Smuggling, great. There will be a whole new market that will come up, black marketing, right? So you, of course, then have anybody who is trying to consume alcohol getting arrested and put into jail. Will it not also have crowding of jails over petty offense like consuming alcohol? So you have overcrowding of jail, you have a whole black marketing industry, illegal liquor, which could come in, which could have a health crisis, right? So when I am introducing or when I'm piloting a bill on prohibition, my goal was that I want, for public health perspective, I do not want people consuming alcohol. But what the law part, what the bill part has done is it has overcrowded my jails. It has created an illegal sector, which is very difficult to deal with, right? And it has caused worse public health outcome than it was before. So maybe the alternative here is not a bill. Maybe it is a policy. Maybe I can create taxes, very high taxes on consumption of alcohol. Maybe I launch a public sort of outreach where I encourage and I inform people and I set up enough rehabilitation places for my citizens. So maybe that is what will help me achieve the outcome more. So that is what the two sort of points help you see things probably. Does the bill violate constitutional principles? So again, as policy people and citizens in general, a good idea about what kind of rights you have, the fundamental rights you have, you should be aware of. And are the provisions violating that or not? If I create a bill which says I will check everybody as and when necessary, I can barge in, I can inspect your things, is it not violating your right to privacy, your right to freedom, or sort of other aspects that are there? So, is the bill violating that? You want to check that. How much power is a state exercising? Then, will the provisions of the bill increase cost to the exchequer? Do I need to create a body to achieve what I want? Do I want to spend thousands of crores of rupees in establishing a body, paying their fees, paying their salary, providing them houses? Is that needed here? How much money is going to be spent on this? Is the bill creating regulatory bodies or other authorities? Are these bodies representative of all interest? And do these bodies have independence to perform their roles without bias? And there are enough examples for you guys to go back and look and see. When we're creating a regulatory body, a very important framework here is, why is the state not doing by itself? Why is it creating a new body? The whole point is that they are free from any influence, they're able to work independently, and they're able to achieve the goals of the bill. If there is enough influence by the state, then the state might as well do it, right? The whole point of separating a body, having a body like SEBI to regulate financial markets, or another body to look at something else, is that they work independently. So we need to make sure that their composition, the way they operate, the bill provides enough freedom and independence to a regulatory body so that they can perform their functions without any influence, right? If they're trying to keep the center in check, then it cannot have influence of the center. That's conflict, right? So all of these things are very important when you're analyzing a bill. And please go and look at the coaching center bill today, because it is very interesting. You all have just, some of you have also just completed your school education, you probably have been to coaching centers. Go see the bill, look at the discussions that are happening in the assembly. And I think maybe tomorrow it is being taken up, so tomorrow you can go and probably put some of these principles to use today and look at the bill itself, right? So I'll end here with the bill part and talk quickly about the Lamb Fellowship. So we have 10 minutes to have a discussion if you have. Okay, so there are some basics of good writing also, which again I have already made it like demonstrated that you have to focus on the reader. Unintended consequences are very probable. So whenever you're writing or you're analyzing something, you have to focus on how the reader will read it. You could have very diverse audience, someone who's very good at English, someone who's maybe not good at English. So what you want to do is you have to make it very simple, very clear, very crisp, very concise. This is not going to be a fiction novel, so you don't need to do a lot of setup and elaborate sentences. You need to avoid jargons here. You need to be as simple and as clear and as crisp as you can, so your audience, which is a general person, is able to understand what you're trying to tell. And always, 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 as a practice, have citations and references. What is your source? As a person, and especially as a policy professional, you need to know why you're talking about something with such assertion. It cannot be because you think. No, it has to be because you have data which is backing what you're claiming. You have a confirmation. You have a state or a government backed resource which is telling you this is how you need to do. Or this is how has been happening. So citations and references are very important. So whenever you do create a piece of paper of your own, make sure you have all of that. Now coming to LAM fellowship. So a little bit, I think Nishita had already talked about. It's a 10 to 11 month long fellowship where you have to be a graduate, right? Under the age of 25. And you could be coming from any discipline. You could be a lawyer. You could be a graduate like me in physics, right? You could be an engineer. You could be someone from an economics or a business background. And you just have to meet these two criteria: Indian citizen, graduate, under the age of 25. That's all that is required, and to need to apply for the fellowship. Now, the way the mechanism or the application process works is that we open applications in December. So for the next batch, the applications will open in the first week of December, and you need to fill in a Google form. So please follow PRS website or follow us on social media handles so that you can know when the applications are opening. You need to put in your personal information like your name, your address, where you're from, what studies you have done, any internships, any work experience. If you have a master's degree, you can tell that. And you need to do two things. One is a statement of purpose, which is why do you need to do LAMP fellowship? And second, any policy essay of your interest. Could be anything: waste management, nuclear policy, atomic energy use. So anything which matters to you, you write a policy statement of that. These are short 500-word things that you need to write, and that's all you need to do at the first stage. And after that, there is a shortlisting process that happens, and selected individuals are asked to write a policy analysis. Now, this is a very timed test, which means you will get about 2 to 2.5 hours, and you will get a prompt on which you immediately need to write a response. Right? So you will, I think this happens sometime around January 1st week. So first or second week. So you will be, if you're shortlisted at the stage 1, which is the form that you need to submit, you go to the second stage. You need to write that test. Again, it's like you'll get one prompt or two prompt, and you just need to write. And it's a little bit elaborate. It's an 800-word essay that you need to write. And if you're shortlisted from that, you get to come to the interview process. So that's the third stage. So in the interview process, again, I mean, pretty standard. You'll be joining some of the other applicants. You could take it virtually, or you could come here in Delhi and give yours in person. And if you're shortlisted after that, so the interviews happen sometime around February to March, in that period. And if you're shortlisted, if you're selected, we make an offer to you in April, and then you get to join us in June. So June is when the fellowship usually begins, mid-June, and you are first given a month-long training, because such diverse audience comes to join the LAMP fellowship. I'll just take that up. So when you join us, you're given a month-long training where we teach you constitutional principles. How do you research? How do you write? So there is a rigorous training, a month-long training which is involved. And after that, you are assigned to your MPs. So the primary goal, the LAMP in the LAMP fellowship, is legislative assistant to a member of parliament. So you'll primarily be working with one mentor member of parliament, and you'll be assisting them in all of their parliamentary work. Right. So, for instance, researching on questions, the example that Yashika gave. So, researching on questions, researching on 0 hour, all of the day in the member of parliament's day in parliament that you looked at, you will be involved at every stage of the process. Research for a legislation, the private member bill, the transgender rights bill that Yashika mentioned. The member of parliament is Mr. Tiruchi Siva, and he worked with his LAMP back in 2014 to pilot this bill. So the LAMP got to work on the bill that Yashika was mentioning. So that is one. You again, the committee aspect of it, your members of parliament could be on committees and could be looking at a lot of subjects. If you're working with that MP and they're part of a committee, you get to also research for them. So anything a parliamentarian does for parliament, LAMP fellow gets involved into the research aspect of it. So you get to work with MP from mid-July, which is when the monsoon session begins, and then you work with them until the end of the budget session next year. So the current batch will be finishing sometime in middle April. That's usually when the budget session ends. So you work with them for 3 sessions. In the intersession period, you get to learn a lot about the policy making process, not the making process, but the policy challenges and different aspects, health, education, and all of these things. So that's also something that we organize and we train LAM fellows on. So one thing that I'd recommend is you go to the PRS website. So PRS Legislative Research is the one that runs the LAMP fellowship. If you go to our website, you can see a section on LAMP there, and you can go to the FAQ section there and read about everything that I've told you right now. Right? So any information, where do you operate from, Yashika has given the link as well. So please go and see there. You have to be stationed here in Delhi, and it's a full-time commitment. So you'll need to give your time here, and of course it'll be occupied there. It's going to be an intensive 9-10 month period. So I'll just look at Prab's question. So if you're 26 and you can't join, then join us. There is enough opportunity. We have openings at PRS as well. If any of you are graduating soon and want to enter the field of policy, PRS is also hiring. You can go to our careers page, or otherwise you can individually also join MP offices. A lot of them take up internships, take up interns for the duration of the session period. There are a lot of other policy organizations which are very sector specific, and you could explore opportunities there as well. So it's never too late to start your journey in policy. I started late. I come from a very different field. So policy is that everybody's inputs are important. It covers pretty much everything, right? So everything that you do every day. If we are 25 while applying, 26 while joining. So at the start of the fellowship, you have to be 25. If I'm starting on 21st of June, I have to be 25. If I'm turning 26 on, let's say, 23rd June, that's okay. So there is usually a cutoff date that's there. So don't worry about it. That will be made clear to you if you're getting admitted or not. So there is a cutoff date which will be there. But we'll open the floor to any questions. Please unmute yourself, or whoever. I think someone will be moderating. And is there a compensation? Yes. So there is a stipend for LAM fellows, which is of 23,000 per month. Again, all of these things will also be available on our website, and each of this is given to you, whether you have to be stationed in Delhi and everything else that happens. Floor is open. Whoever is moderating, we're happy to answer questions about what we've talked about, or PRS or LAM fellowship, and Yashika and I can answer. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. So we have 15 minutes, so we have some time for Q&A.
Thank you, ma'am. And if someone has further questions, then please ask.
What could make applications stand out? Let me give you a very simple trick, which I think people are forgetting these days, which is your intent. If you're genuinely interested in learning about how policy making works, it will come across. Do not ask ChatGPT to write your answers. That is what will make your application stand out. Everything that ChatGPT writes, it is writing the same for you. It is writing the same for Gautam. It is writing the same for Nishita. I don't know what our chick wants because you've asked an automated model to do it for you. So unless you're an expert into, like, the model understands you so well and knows all of your deep secrets that it does it for you, it'll be very generic. So in application, wherever you apply for jobs also, you need to have a genuine interest in knowing why you want to be here and not somewhere else, right? Why not anywhere else? Why not join an organization? Why do you want to work with a politician and go through this rigorous process? It's very rigorous. It's very grueling. So understanding why you want to join some place and what you're trying to achieve out of it is very important, and that's what makes any application for job, for fellowship, anything stand out. Anything else, Yashika, that you want to add?
Excuse me, ma'am. It's like, thank you so much again for sharing your thoughtful insights. And actually, it's like, ma'am, I have one question. If it's like in the future, if I'll have some questions or wants to, it's like kind of seek guidance related to my career path or something, would there be a way I could reach out to connect with you in any way?
Sure. I mean, you can follow us on LinkedIn, reach out there, or our emails are also there. You can write it us on our email IDs as well.
Okay, sure, ma'am. And also about it's like you briefly you talked about it's like you could join PRS as well. That is also one of the option. So could you just it's like briefly talk about how can I do it right now? It's like just briefly, if
Sure.
thank you.
Sure. So, Yashika explained a little bit about what we do as an organization. So we are a non-profit. We work primarily with legislatures, and our goal is to inform a democracy, inform citizens, inform parliamentarians and state legislators. So when you're working us, we're joining us. There are basically two teams. One team is which Yashika and I are part of, which is the outreach team. We are the people who communicate, let's say, with citizens, with journalists, with students like you. I manage the LAM fellowship. There is a team which engages with legislators. The other is the research team. And you can go and look at PRS website, and you will see a lot of the analysis done on the bills that we discussed, on the budget that the parliament presents, on policy issues. So that analysis and the research work is done by the research team. So again, two very different teams and skill sets required, but the main goal here is that you're interested in the institution that we work with and the ethos of the organization. So if you have that, you'll be a great fit at PRS, and there are openings across both teams. So you can join work that the outreach team does and work that the research team does. And the detailed JDs are available on our website. Yashika has shared the link here, the career section of our website. So it'll have detailed JDs as to what is expected of you, what type of work you'll engage in. Compensation competitive, we're a non-profit, so there is no band here that we can tell you. It basically depends on your experience, the skills that you bring, if you have any previous drawn salary that we can take a look at. So it's all of that. Application very simple. You need to email your cover letter and your resume on the email ID which is mentioned on that link. And if you align with the goals, if whatever you've told us makes you a good fit, then someone will contact you for the interview stage. So that's largely the case. It's pretty straightforward. I recommend everyone to go to the JD section and then look at the work that we do, right? Read about us, so you get a better sense if this is the place that you want to work at. So that's very important. I hope that answers your question, Prabs.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And actually, it's like just now I followed both of you. Thank you so much for that. And it's like I'll just be dropping my LinkedIn over here. It's just because I just wanted to connect again, if it's possible in some ways. And thank you so much again for your. It's like one side.
Thank you. Thanks, Prabs. Anything else, Yashika, you want to add for everybody in general? Yeah.
No, I think you did a good job answering everything about PRS and LAM.
Most productive in terms of working in Parliament. You look at how Parliament functioned. You tell us how productive it was. Go look at how Parliament functioned, the monsoon session which ended on August 21. It's productive, yeah. I mean, of course, when you work with legislatures, when they work, you have a lot of work, but that does not mean that the rest of the day is or the rest of the period is not helpful. You take this period when any assembly or parliament is not on, and you work at engaging with citizens, you work on engaging with other stakeholders. We all of us learn each day, right? Because you work in the policy space, so you it's as hectic as you want it to be. It could be very light on hectic days for you also, if you want. So I think it's subjective too. It's a hectic period for all of us. It's a small team, so we all work. Yeah. Beyond the year of LAM fellowship. Yes, so a lot of the LAM fellows, after the fellowship is over, they integrate into various paths. Some of them go on to pursue their masters. A lot of them have gone on to Ivy Leagues, have gone on to pursue MPP, MB, or other technical degrees. A lot of them have retained with their offices, MP offices, or have joined other offices to carry on the policy work at that front. Others integrate into other policy organizations. So the policy space is small, but it's still very diverse. There are specific policy organizations for, let's say, education or health. There are consulting organizations. So there's a lot of work that's happening in the policy space. So they join those organizations as well. So there are prospects, no doubt. Yeah. Active LinkedIn profile necessary? No, you're doing a great job. You don't have any social things crumbs left behind you about your presence. Good. Who knows what's watching or who's watching? But yeah, anything else that we can talk about? We still have 7 minutes.
So yes, thank you, ma'am. I think there are no further questions left for you to answer. So now I will request Devendra for conclusion and vote of thanks. Over to you, Devendra.
Thank you, Ms. Nishita. Thank you, ma'am. I sincerely thank our both of speakers for sharing their valuable insights. And I'm equally grateful to our members of like society members, President Gautam Jha and Ms. Nishita as a team head, and all participants for their enthusiastic presence and support that made this session a meaningful one. So any further, we will in the contact with these two speakers, and if any queries of the members are still pending, then we will further discuss on that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, everyone. It's lovely meeting everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good. Well done. Well done. The team.
Yes, sir.
Well done. Good. What, Gautam? How are you? How are you, Nishita?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good, sir.
Where are our classmates? I saw only 1, 2.
Yes, sir.
I could not see all the classmates to say hello. Old people. Hello, everybody. Yeah, okay. So these are our newcomers, huh? Am I visible
Yes,
to
sir.
you people?
Great,
Am
sir.
I visible to you all?
Great, sir.
No, I don't think so. I want to see and see these people. Okay, on the first row, old people. I mean, the seniors are there or not? A last they are sitting. Nishita, I am able to see. Either Ranjan is there at that last. Huh?
Ajiv, sir.
No, I want to see this full screen. Okay, lower it down. Okay, Raki is there or at the back? Raki is there. Raki Jangid. Okay. I'm not able to see others. Okay, all right. So this batch is this department is a very good department. It's me, Jeevan. Okay, I moved to Hyderabad. I'm from Maulana Azad National Urdu University. Okay, so I left the university in January. Nice to meet you all. I think you are all from different parts. I can see the different faces. I think north, south, east, North India. It's good. So this Vimarsam, this president, these groups are very active. So once they move, you people also have to take up the baton and continue this culture of organizing the events, cultural activities, etc. Whether your freshers is over or not? Huh?
No, sir.
Not yet.
Not yet, sir.
Sachi, how are you? You are sitting at the last, near the door. You are not even saying me hello, sir. Huh? How are you?
Rajiv Ranjan, sir.
Raju Ago, he is putting his head. I am seeing. He is not even saying hello, sir. Only new people are smiling and old people are angry. Of course, they know me as that's why they are angry. Old new people don't know me, they smile. Acha. How are the classes going on? This public policy, basically the objective of the origin of the department, it is my responsibility to tell you. Just listen to me, 5 minutes only. The basic objective of designing this public policy, law and governance is to train you in the public policy with a interdisciplinary understanding of legal and governance aspects. The graduates joining here are supposed to learn the qualities of a team leadership and coordination and leadership, okay, stress management. These are the critical thinking. These are the important qualities that you should have before you leave the Central University of Rajasthan. Okay, the courses are also designed in such a way that you pick up interest in one particular policy area, be it education or health or IT, etc., to understand the dynamics of public policy making. And then, so with that objective, you can make sense out of the program. Okay, the more you are focused, the more the meaningful it looks. Otherwise, the program looks like as if it is a khichdi. Some aspects of political science, some aspects of public administration, some aspects of governance. No, you have to make sense out of the program. How you want to become and what you want to become must be very clear in the day one. Okay, this program can be useful to be a civil servant at central level and the group, and also to become a faculty in the public policy or a political science, or you can be part of a think tanks or a development NGOs, etc., etc. So this, with this objective, we have established this department. I served the department for about more than a decade. I think many of them are girls only. Where are the boys? Where are the? Is it my mentee or Raka Jangid? Jangid only, na? Huh?
Yes, sir.
You are not even saying hello to me. I was your mentor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You are not saying hello. You are sitting at the back as if you are seeing for the first time. Huh? You are not even asking, how are you, sir? Huh?
How, sir? Sorry.
After I ask, you are asking how, sir. That shows, see, this is the problem with the students in your department. They don't understand the importance of a mentorship. See, I'm a professor here. I don't have any business to sit and encourage our students whom I have left. So these things are very, very basic. Certain things are written rules, certain things are unwritten. In the public policy making also, behind the curtains, many other things will go. These are very, very basics. So I think I did not come in between your lunch and yourself. All the best. Welcome to Central University of Rajasthan. Come up with all the flying colors. Study well. Do the readings more. Each one is expert in their own way. Congratulations to the team. Well done.
Thank you,
It's very
sir.
painstaking effort. Bye, Gautam. Bye. Bye, Devendra. Bye. Aditya, bye, Ravi, Ranjan Kumar. Oh, another Ranjan Kumar. Bye, bye. Take care. Take care of your health. Bye. Bye. God bless you. Bye.